Forgot to take that screen off. Hey, welcome to Bears Banter. My name is Bernard Muhammad. Tonight on the broadcast, we have sitting in tonight for the first time Eric Armstrong, regular host Guy Moore, Keith Flournoy. Jay Beasley won't be able to make it tonight. He's moving his daughter into the Ohio State this weekend.
All right.
Tammy won't be able to make it tonight, so it look like it's going to be us four. Christian may be joining us later on tonight. But anyway, hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Good,
man. Pretty good.
Good. Okay. Back. Hey, did everybody watch the game today?
Yes.
Man, I wasn't doing nothing but being parked in front of that TV, making sure I could see what Justin Fields was going to bring to bear. So, I was in front of the TV today.
Okay.
We're going to get it today, boy.
Hey.
We gonna get
it. It was exciting. It was exciting to see them get back on the field.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, Eric, what I know preseason doesn't mean a whole lot, but there is things that you could take from preseason. What are one of the things that you got from the game today?
One of the things that I liked was that I could see there was a plan on offense. Execution wasn't always there. I could see that there was intentionality as far as what they wanted to do, and so that jumped out at me. I was a little disappointed, but not surprised when I saw the first drive with the Chiefs, because it looked like, the fact that our linebackers are nondescript, that they were playing right to the middle of the field with some of that stuff, and so I know we got to tighten it up, but I was pleased, and I follow a lot of college football, so I was very familiar with Brisker. And I was excited to see that guy do his thing. So I mean, him and Ebner are two people that I watched a lot of in college football. I play FanDuel on college football, so I'm always seeing everybody. And so I knew what we had in at least those two guys. So I was excited.
Okay. Hey, Plank, what did you get out of today's game that you wanted to share on the top of the broadcast?
Yeah, I was actually at the initial drive when we were trying to out there against the starters for Kansas City. It looked like they just walked down the field with little or to no resistance. I realized we don't have our entire defense down, but I expected them to be a little bit more competitive against even Mahomes and what have you. But I know it's the preseason, it's a learning process, but going forward, the second quarter from a defensive standpoint, we really started bringing the pain. And as far as I was concerned, I was really excited about seeing Justin Fields and what he brought. And he looked very good from a progression standpoint. I was a little bit upset, well, more than a little bit upset. I get angry about the late hit on Justin Fields. And it looks like we're going through another year where they're just going to, make him prove that he's an elite quarterback before they give him the protection that the referees are supposed to be there for. But all in all, I really did enjoy the game.
Okay. Hey, I see Charles Lawless put Brisker was no joke. I know a guy had sent a message that said he was trying to decapitate the quarterback on that play. Hey, Guy, what did you see?
What I did was this. I mean, you can't really tell anything in preseason, but what you can do is this. You can see the players are buying into the scheme. Something I saw on defense, I mean, regardless of, they scored 14 points or whatever, but what you saw, there was activity. You would see a guy, when the tackle ended, there were 3 or 4 jerseys around it. I love that. Brisker, man, I don't even have words for that dude. Because here's something else that I noticed about the Bears that's really interesting is remember last year, guys would call a play and the guys would come up to the line and guys are kind of like looking around like, it just seemed like every play, be it the first, second, or third string, guys came prepared. They walked up like they knew where they were going, what they were supposed to do. I love that. And I'm going to tell you 2 things, man. My man, Jack Sanborn, they got to give him a job. Sanborn was all over the place. And of course, I got Tristan Ebner. Gotta have a job. Because guys, all you ask for in the preseason is, guys are trying to struggle for a spot, but then you look at some guys that stand out. I think Evan and Sanborn stood out today. But I was thoroughly pleased for the first time to learn a new scheme. They did okay.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, one of the things that stood out to me was I was excited to see it looked like Justin Fields was throwing the ball in rhythm. There was times last year, and even when I saw him in college, that I just thought personally he held on the ball sometimes too long, and and sometimes that causes a quarterback to get sacked just because you're not throwing in a rhythm and you're holding the ball long. And then if you couple that with a bad offensive line, I mean, you're gonna have a long day. So it looked like he was more decisive on some of his throws to get it out of his hand. I was impressed with some of the plays I seen from the receiving core. It looked very impressive. I want to say it might have been Eric or somebody. It might not be Eric. Somebody else said something earlier today on the Facebook page about our receiving core. No, I think it was Mike Patterson who had said it. But I was a little impressed with the receiving core. Brisker, he's gonna be a beast. I like what I saw.
You see how he did that, man, when he got the tackle? That's what I love about this kid, man. It's like he doesn't seem like he's but what I love about what Coach Flus did, and the thing that he set a foundation for was from day one. I don't care if you're a rookie. I don't care if you're a 15-year vet. The best players are going to play. So now as a rookie, you come in, you don't have to feel that like, oh, man, no matter how hard I'm going to play, I'm not going to get no tick. Flus is putting the best guys out there. And you can kind of see if these rookies are hungry. But, man, Brisker, it's almost like, like I said, guys seem like they've been sticking their heads in playbook. And, whew, man, that's all. I really don't have much. Then I saw your brother, Al Qadim Muhammad, man, when he came up the gut and rushed that play. The guy, because he was with Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken, before, so he pretty much knows this scheme. When he came up the gut, I said, "See, there go Bernard brother out there clowning already. It's just one game."
Hey, Bernard, I have to go out there, to your same point and give props to Jack Sanborn. He's out here in the boonies with me, Lake Zurich. I remember seeing a young man play at the high school a couple years ago. They ended up playing for the state championship in double overtime. He's a tackling machine. He's got good fundamentals, and I'm just glad he got a chance to get out there and show what he has to bring to bear. So I'm looking forward to his career.
We setting you up for the MVP this year, Plank, because I think we're going to have a whole lot of talk about them DBs this year.
Hey, you know what? I'm not sleeping on the receivers. I like Justin Fields today. He hit multiple receivers. He wasn't dependent on just looking at Mooney or anything like that. He hit whoever was in the game. They all looked like they were in stride. You can tell that the offense has a couple lumps that they still gotta overcome. But it was encouraging. Again, because it seemed like we had some idea what we're supposed to do to play a football.
Exactly. And you know what, though? That Tasha Sharp guy,
oh, yeah.
Man, he had a couple nice catches, but the interesting part, just like you said, man, guys came out today like, it seems like they're buying to the scheme. On offense, it was something I was kind of I wrote down when I saw him do that end around. And something I thought about is like when executed correctly, what that looked like is when gimmick plays are seen as misdirection plays. When they look good, it's the misdirection play. When they screw up, like they was having the Jets sweep with Cordell Patterson as a single back, and you knew he was going to run it. That was a gimmick play. I like the fact that they running the ball. It felt like even though they were doing some 3 and outs and stuff, you kind of felt like they look like kind of like other teams, if it kind of makes sense. Because remember last year, we sitting up there watching like, what the heck are they doing? They act like they don't have a clue. But even if they didn't get a lot of yards, when they went up to the line of scrimmage and they ran plays, you felt like everybody knew what their assignment was. So it's one game.
There was a play in particular.
Eric, what's your take on the protections that you saw as far as offensive line? I mean, I know that's one of the biggest concerns that we've been saying, even in the Bears Banter group. I know we have guys that are very vocal about the offensive line, but all of us are vocal. I mean, some of us just don't go in circles about it. I mean, it is what it is. We knew it was bad.
They need to get better. That was the one group that, even when Justin was out there, that he was still under duress. Even getting that ball out, they have to get better. One thing I've never really liked about the Bears, and this is from one regime to the next, is that they'll get an offensive lineman and then move them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Where they learned and have been groomed into one position. They say we put you over. They've done it with Kyle Long. They did it with Whitehair. They tried to do it with Jenkins. I mean, they moved out. They did it with Daniels. And it's like, so, because for me, I would prefer to see Riley Reef on the left side where he says he wants to play. Okay. I know they want to try to bring the rookie and try to work him up, but I think it'd be best to have him learning from, a professional left tackle, as opposed to him being over there and putting Reef on the right side and put Jenkins on the right side. I was watching Jenkins a lot. And he looked okay out there for somebody who missed a lot of time. One play in particular, I believe it was in the second or third quarter, and they were in the red zone, and he was just straight clearing, and the running back got hit by somebody else, but he cleared the path straight to the end zone. But somebody else got the kid after he cleared the path. So I mean, I think and I watched Jenkins play at Oklahoma State. The kid on the right side is a road grader. I never understood why trying to put him over to the left side, but they have to get better. I think the continuity, if they're going to leave people at certain spots, of course, Patrick is not out there for the center. But again, to the earlier point, you can see there's a plan. You can clearly see that even if something didn't go right, you saw what the intent was. And that I can take away from that, saying, okay, if I had to give them a grade, it would be a C today. Because they were still able to do things and move the ball. And it really was sometimes execution was what killed some of the drives. I mean, there was one, they had a screen, the lineman had it all out there. I think it was Evans who dropped the pass. And so I think they only gave up how many sacks? Was it two sacks or three? But they have to get better. But I won't say impressed, but I was encouraged a little bit.
Okay. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody who's watching us tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV. Also, if you're not a subscriber to Bears Banter on YouTube or Twitch TV, please hit the subscribe button below and subscribe to Bears Banter. Bears Banter this year, we'd like to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Right now, I believe we're around 600, so we need about at least 400 more of y'all to subscribe to Bears Banter. Hey, as far as I was thinking about when you said the Bears move their offensive linemen a lot, I was laughing because I was like, they even moved Big Cat, right? I know that goes back.
He was an offensive line by himself.
Yeah, but Big Cat was a defensive tackle, right? And they moved him to the offense. But that was a great example of a move that actually worked. In his favor, But those are some great points that you brought up. I know Eric always say, "Hey, I'm a football geek." He said I'm a sports geek. So, so I said, "Hey, I got to get Eric on here." I said, "Hey, we're gonna have like another J on here."
I tell you what, though. I bet you Mike Schofield in the locker room going to Tevin Jenkins like, when we get paid again? Because that second play, when he got beat, when Chris Jones got past him, it wasn't even like resistance. There's a difference if you're struggling with a guy and the guy just kind of gets you better you. But Chris Jones just walked up and was like, And I'm sitting up there and I can see Tevin Jenkins on the sideline like, I guess I'm going to be starting this year. Because he looked terrible. But the thing is, like he was talking, just like with E, I just want to kind of sort of piggyback on that. It's great to have interchangeable parts, but there's got to be some cohesion. If you've got guys, because a lot of times what you don't have is I mean, what you do have is you have sight. Sometimes familiarity, when you snap a ball and a guy who's supposed to be a guard and you're a tackle is always there, it's kind of sort of seamless. When you got guys bouncing all over the place and stuff, sometimes guys may miss blocks, they miss assignments or whatever. But the one thing I like about Flus seems like the type of guy, you miss the block, okay, you're going to be running tomorrow and you might not start. I really, really am very pleased at what I saw today. And a lot of people will look at me and saying, oh, I'm just blowing this up bigger than what it was. But let's go back to last year and let's look at this year, comparing it to this year. One game, everybody's buying in. You see the defenders, they're tackling, going after balls. You see guys, when the tackle ends, and if I'm not lying, if you think I'm lying, go back and look at the footage. When a guy made a tackle, it was at least 3 or 4 jerseys. You want that every time. And Flus is kind of putting it into this thing, like tell you, like, okay, it's a loaf thing. Okay, you supposed to run this out. You ain't run this out. Guys have bought into this, and it's starting to stick in their head because what happens is this. You got pro players around here, and I don't care how great you are, somebody going to burn you. You know, it is what it is. But if you do the same thing every time, it's going to work in your favor if you work hard because you can be talented all get-go. But if you don't understand the plays, don't know the X's and O's, and especially if you're not hustling, it is what it is. You can be Sam.
When you mentioned last year, one of the things that you could see with the Chicago Bears, not only last year, but the year before, was the Bears defense. I should say defense. I was about to say defense. The Bears team lacked discipline. They lack discipline. Offensively, you can see the lack of discipline when you have all those pre-snap penalties. That's a lack of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the snap is, and why are you having false starts and stuff like that? You could see that a lot in this Bears team. And then defense-wise, where they lack discipline, it was the stuff they would do sometime after a play was over.
Mm-hmm.
And it can happen with some players being emotional. But when you're having consecutive games and you're extending third downs that you just put a great stance on, and somebody decide that they just gonna push somebody or they gonna whatever they're gonna do, that's lack of discipline. And so what I did heard earlier this week in reference to this game, KC was playing their starters longer because they supposedly was having a lot of false starts in practice. And so in reference to the Bears, I did see a team that seemed to have more discipline. And with that said, Plank, how did you view the defensive line in the game today? What you could get out of that?
Oh man, those dudes were coming off the ball. I like them. I actually have been thinking all summer, you know, from all of the conversation we've had, draft, free agents, whatever, that defensive line is still the weakest link on our team. I was encouraged by what I saw. Again, you know, under the gaze of being a preseason game, it doesn't matter. You're still playing against professional people. I thought the defensive line brought a lot. Dominic Robinson, look, let me tell you something. This rookie class that the Bears brought in, all of those guys were bringing something. Every one of them. So I was looking at them like, wait a minute, we got a punter that's a rookie that came in, and he immediately going coffin corner and having the ball down on the 2 or 3 yard line. That's something you generally don't see. I'm glad he's a 7th round draft choice, but at least it looks like, again, there's a long-term plan and not just a reactionary thing. So I'm excited about the defensive line. They look better than I would have expected them to look at this point in time, especially with the Larry Obenjani or whatever that missed. I think they're filling in pretty nicely. So I got nothing but trust in Ryan Poles, and I don't see any reason why I shouldn't at this point.
Okay. Hey, yes. So I wanted to talk about some of the stuff we saw in the game before I get to some of the stuff that was coming, some of the drama that we see going on that's not really related to the play on the field, which in one sense, you know, in my opinion, those are distractions because going into this training camp, who we should have been talking about was Justin Fields. Justin Fields is the face of this franchise, and
Right.
that's what we should have been talking about. But we've been getting distracted about other conversations because some of them may be the Bears' fault, some of them may be the players, but we're talking about is Jenkins there, right? We got the I don't know if those like the Bigfoot sighting, right? Is the Bigfoot for real or what? But is Jenkins at practice? Is he not at practice, right? Then we going through the same thing this week. Is Roquan Smith at practice? Oh, did he suit up, right? Is he gonna play? And those are the things that a new coach comes in that you really don't wish upon them, because the biggest distraction they probably should have, my opinion would be, is if you hear early round draft picks or first round, did that guy sign yet, right? And once you get all your guys signed in camp, you're not supposed to be talking about guys who are not free agents or guys that just second rounders. Hey, this is your opportunity. And one of the things I see in the NFL that you see now is, I know some people criticize management, not management, but coaching for working guys hard. I remember the same thing was happening under Lovie Smith. But some of those problems is because too many players now come to training camp not in shape. Players used to actually come to camp in shape. And now all they getting in more football shape and game shape. You literally have players that they say in the league now that they haven't worked out since the OTAs. That's if they showed up to the OTAs. And then now they're in camp trying to get in shape, right? Now you having pull muscles and soft tissue pulls and all that. So with that said, you mentioned Jenkins earlier. Anybody want to talk about the situation with Jenkins and how Jenkins is looking at this point?
You know what? I think he's okay. I think he might have had some back issues or whatever. People saying he's talking all this other stuff. I don't even really listen to all this stuff. Because if everything that they said was true about him having problems with coaches or whatever it was, he wouldn't be playing right. Whether he needs to grow up or not, or just this innuendo and they're doing stuff. I mean, it is what it is. And I understand distractions, but the difference between, and I'm not sitting out here just putting Neverflus on a pedestal or anything, but you can tell a complete difference between what a coach is supposed to look like. That conversation with Nagy to Sandberg would have been, well, man, we just need you to plug a spot because, we're trying to sign Roquan. And, when he gets back, I know it's just got a spot, but you'll have an opportunity to get experience. With Eberflus, he probably walked up to Sandberg and said, look, man, I'm just coaching this thing. I don't understand the money part. Your boy may not be here. Show me what you got. Give me a reason. If some reason or another he doesn't sign with us, that's your spot. And Sandborn played like, man, your boy ain't coming back. Roquan ain't never coming back. You got to have, as a coach, you almost have to, they say don't baby people, but sometimes certain ways you got to talk to guys. I mean, you got to psych some guys up and tell them stuff. But when you under a premise of understanding that this guy's a contract, it is a business thing. But by the same token, he not playing. Regardless of how great he is, Roquan ain't on there with no pads on. So if I'm a linebacker, especially if I'm a Sam, I'm sitting out here right now. I don't know how this going to go, but I need to show this coach what I got, because if he don't come back, I want that spot. And that's how these guys are playing.
Hey Plank, you got anything on Roquan situation?
Yeah, as far as Jenkins and Roquan, just a lot of growing pains that you're going through with a new regime. There's a new general manager that you want to kind of, establish who's actually leading around the inmates in the assignment. So, there's a lot of that. But one of the things that I found out from a leadership perspective, you can start out being harsh or terse or very streamlined in your discipline. And then as your team progresses, then you can ease off a bit and, be a little easier to get along from personality standpoint. You cannot start off trying to be nice and being more terse as time goes along. So I'm thinking what's happening. There's a lot of feeling people out trying to see what they can get away with, fault protection and what have you. I think, Tevin Jenkins, he's probably a different dude as far as some of the things that he thinks about. And it's kind of, gave him the ability of kind of testing the coaches and see what they would do. As far as Roquan Smith, this brother is in the wrong position.
Yep.
He's trying to negotiate his own contract. He right now he's got 3 years of credit playing as a football player. He doesn't get through that 4th year until he plays at least 6 games this year. The other thing that's happening with Roquan Smith is the Bears still are in position where they can determine they just want to let him play out this year and then franchise tag him for the next few years. So power currently rests within Ryan Poles' hand. Even with that, Ryan Poles took a very hands-off, a very soft stance with Roquan Smith trying to get through this whole contractual situation. And Roquan Smith thought he was in a superior position and bit the hand that was feeding. So I think we're going to have more eyes out on that, but I'm still on board for what the new regime is doing. I like it. I like it a lot.
Okay. Hey, Plank, I want to come back to you real quick. Can you explain to those who might not quite understood what you meant that he needs 6 games this year to have credit as a 4-year player?
Yeah, every year you need to accrue a certain amount of games in order for the Players Association and the NFL to say, okay, he has earned the right to be in his 4th year. He's earned the right to be in whatever the next year is. And that 6 games is basically that bar that ends up going over. So a lot of guys, they might start off on injured reserve or they get hurt or whatever. That's why you see guys trying so hard to get back before a certain time. Even when they might not be 100%, they'll get out there and get on the field because they want to get credit relative to free agency and that next contract for having 1 additional year. Currently, Roquan Smith, again, he's got 3 years of credit, and the way that he's going about doing things, and you want to go public, I get it. But what the major problem that I have with Roquan Smith again is he needs to have an agent. You need to have somebody else speak on your behalf. Let's think about it this way. Me and you have been friends for just about 40 years. I know good and well I'm not the one that you want to talk to anytime it's a conflict of anger and people getting upset. That's why I got Bernard. That's why I got Zim. I can say, let them talk because they'll calm some things down. Because if you say it to me, it's just going, it's going to be Thanos and boom, big power and stuff over again.
Hey, a real quick comment on that is, and I'm not saying that players are not intelligent enough to represent themselves.
Right.
You know what? You could represent yourself in a legal trial as well. You know what? And think about it, if you're on a murder trial and you represent yourself in a murder trial, you got to be insane. Because you're actually going against people who do this every day. And so with that said, that's the problem I have with him. And I think when you express that, unfortunately, what some people are hearing is they think you're criticizing Roquan's ability as a player.
Not at all.
I'm just saying, like, hey, if you think about it, you have limited your time of negotiation. You started in training camp. While you should be in training camp, your agent could be negotiating, but now they have to wait until you finish with practice that day to start a new negotiation. Okay, what if they're not negotiating that day?
Break something down for you too.
Players that may be offended, right? They just being emotional, trying to push the button in negotiation. I read this book once, The Art of Negotiation, right? Negotiation, sometimes you say prices that not necessarily is the price that you think is going to be the final price. It's just part of the negotiation process. You just say, okay, I'll give you this, I give you that. And so as a player, I could see you could be offended because you're usually not part of the stuff that may sound like it's insults, where your agent will say, I'm not going to tell them, that. So they got to deal with you in white gloves, and even with the thing of trade me. You can't negotiate your own trade if you decide to be traded. I mean, who's going to trade?
See, you know what?
Let me go to Eric real quick, and I'll come back.
Oh, yeah, please.
Real quick, and I'll be brief. From my understanding, from what I read, Roquan had a an agent when he signed as a rookie deal, and then he doesn't have one now. So I'm not sure if there was a bad experience with that. I put this in the Facebook group. I get it. If you have an agent and then they sign a contract, they kind of eat into that contract to whenever. But at the minimum, hire a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Negotiate.
That was you that said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the lawyer, you pay that lawyer one good time,
right?
To negotiate that contract, and you pay them, and you're done with it. So if that is so much for him, it bothers me. I have faith it's going to work out. That's why I'm like, I think it's going to work out. I believe he wants to be here, and yes, because he can't sit out the season. He's not going. Doesn't help him sit out the season because they can just, like you said, they can franchise. Right. So they got at least this year and 2 more years if they franchise him. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's a sad situation. I think we can do better. He can do better than this. And there have been players I heard recently that have negotiated for themselves. They haven't had agents. Some did okay, most didn't. Okay, so
right.
And so I mean, if you really want to be that penny pinching about your agent's going to be eating your contract, hire a lawyer.
Yeah, right. Because the NFL max for an agent is 3% anyway. So so it's not. I mean, it's a lot of when you look at 100 million, but really it's not a lot in the overall scheme of things. And one of the things I mentioned, I think me and Plank was talking offline. I was like, have you seen Roquan in any advertisement or endorsement? Nope. No, he may have some, but I haven't seen it locally. Now Chicago loves its athletes. And you're gonna be on something, but guess who get those contracts for you?
Justin Field,
your agent. Your agent is the one. And I know Dino had just put down there that Lamar Jackson is doing different. The same thing.
That's completely different.
And now here's the thing with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson did not have an agent his rookie year, but for that rookie contract. But a rookie contract is different, especially since he was a late round draft pick. You're slotted more than anything, but now when you into your second contract, there's negotiation that's going on, and I would hate for him to get a deal that he think is great just because the money looks good. Then maybe a year or two now, you want to redo your contract because it was language in there that you didn't like. Hey, guy, what you have?
Lamar, I know Dino said, isn't Lamar Jackson doing the same thing? Yes and no. Reason why yes, trying to negotiate a contract, but no, because what happened is this. First of all, Roquan doesn't like, from what I understand, they put $95 million on the table. I don't know if it's front end or back end, but he's sort of in the realm of Saquon and the other guys and linebackers who are like top guys. If your team is offering you money and you choose not to get an agent and you want to negotiate your contract, you have all the free will to do so. However, the problem is he doesn't have any leverage, and the reason being is because he doesn't have an agent. Because in order for you as a player to have someone on your behalf to talk to another NFL team, you have to be registered with the National Football League Players Association as an agent. To even go make a phone, to even talk to somebody. Because see, Roquan, some of his people are calling these other teams and they're not taking his calls because they understand that's tampering. If they pick up the phone and even just have a, hey, how you doing? How's the family? That's an automatic fine. It's almost like anything else. It's like if you're working at a job and your job is a union-based job, why would you have somebody that's not union come represent you in labor talks? Because number one, you can't. Because your first prerequisite is you have to be part of the union. If Roquan is just like, okay, we're going to negotiate the contract, which is still kind of stupid because I think Richard Sherman did the same thing. He represented himself and he didn't even get the money that he wanted. The plus side was he got a chip, but still he didn't get the money. You want a guy that basically eat, drinks, and sleeps contracts. Because what happens is every little $2-3 that they trying to slack off on, Your agent's job is to get that money. Just like when we talk about different players, you're like, oh man, dude, cold, but he ain't worth $100 million. It's not about the play, it's how well you negotiate the contract. So with him walking out here without an agent, what Poles can do is say, okay, go find me a trade, because he automatically know he can't talk to nobody else. So now you stuck. Get an agent, or just like Eric said, if you're coming from just from the contractual side of it, get some representation. Get a lawyer to come in to look at it, because you're not within the metes and bounds of what the collective bargaining agreement is.
Thank you, Dino. Hey, what you have, Plank?
Thank you.
Real quick, okay? The difference between Roquan Smith and Lamar Jackson is that Roquan Smith is a linebacker, an off-the-line linebacker in a quarterback-driven league.
Yep.
So there's only so much they're going to pay for that, because they don't see him as a transitional player. Now, if Roquan Smith was the same linebacker that got more quarterback sacks, calls, fumbles, more interception, that's an entirely different thing, because that's a defensive player affecting the game from a quarterback-driven league. From Ryan Poles' standpoint, we have to continue to hold money to pay Justin Fields and all these offensive guys, because that's the direction the league's going to go. So, I'm a little concerned about Roquan Smith. He's overestimating what his own contribution is.
Hey, Plank and I had a conversation the other day when we were talking about what you just mentioned about impact. And I know people have different views on that particular point. And a lot of times in sports, man, we emotional, right? I'm in a bunch of Bears groups. I'm probably in about 5 other Bears groups other than Bears Banter.
Ooh, man, yeah.
And, hey, man, and some of them, even with the administrator trying to, control, monitor some of the stuff, man, people really could go at it, right? I mean, people feelings get hurt, people get sensitive. But with that said, one of the things I want to print out that Plank said, we talked about impact. See, a linebacker, in my opinion, today is different than what a linebacker was. Let's say when Mike Singletary played, right? I'm just using that as an example.
Two different.
This is a passing league. I mean, we think about this as a passing league.
Yeah,
that was a running league. Your impact has to be at the most part in the passing game as a linebacker.
Yep.
It's not how many tackles you got, especially if they're against the run game. Because if you get a lot of tackles in the run game against a team, you know what that means? That team can't pass good. So they just probably running the ball a lot.
Yep.
Because most of the teams, your impact as a linebacker, in my opinion, is going to be in the pass game in sacks, fumbles. Can you cover a guy? Unless you just, unless they play you in like a 3-4 where you're a pass rusher, a linebacker. But can you cover your guy in the flat? Those are the things where you're going to impact. So that's why sometimes, we having like discussions. I'm looking at it too, like what is your impact in the game? So some players are game-changing players. You can look at some players and they're solid, right? They make good tackles, they hit hard. But guess what? When we decide to start passing the ball and we're burning you constantly, then we've exploited the weakness in your game. Hey, what you got, Eric? I saw you raise your hand.
To your point, Leonard Floyd. Because when they drafted Leonard Floyd and everybody thought he's going to be 10 sacks or more, and Leonard Floyd left Chicago and went to the Rams as one of the most complete linebackers you're going to see. He's not going to get 10 sacks, but he can kill you in coverage. You're not getting past him. And he can play the run. And I remember Hub Arkish talked about this over and over again. He was like, Leonard Floyd was not what they drafted. And if you just a meatball Bears fan, you don't like him. But if you understand football, you understand Leonard Floyd was perfect.
Yes.
and the Rams love him, and he got paid, and he got a ring now. So that's to the point that the way the game has changed. A lot of things that happen is not going to sometimes always show up with the sacks and the things like that. But you want the Khalil Macks and you want the Robert Quinns and those things. At the same time, you need that other linebacker that's always going to be where he's supposed to be, kind of like Lane Grigg years ago.
You know what middle linebacker? You know what linebacker I think kind of sort of set the tone for what linebackers are now. A lot of people may disagree, and I'm not saying he's the greatest linebacker ever. Brian Urlacher comes out of New Mexico State as a safety with a 4.5 speed. Now your prerequisite to be a linebacker in general, I don't be Sam, Will, Mike. You got to at least be a 4.5. One. Number two, you got to be a dog in coverage. The stuff they used to do, the 3.4s and 4.3s, you know, you're solid and all that stuff. You see a lot of linebackers right now when guys are like 20-yard passes, and there's a linebacker within the screen of your TV. You know, everything is completely changed. It's like you guys said, it's a passing league now. So as a linebacker, it's like, okay, yeah, you nice. And don't get me wrong, Roquan is the real deal, you know, but by the same token, you also have to understand that if you are wanting to get paid like the other two linebackers, or you want to go through what you want to go through, you got to be able to, you have to be able to convince people that these guys that they paid $95.5 and $98 million contracts, you got to prove that I'm them and better. So,
yeah.
You know.
Hey, Plank, I'm coming right back to you. Let me pull something up right quick, Plank.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for watching Bears Banter. Hey, this year in Bears Banter, what we are going to be doing is, if you want to be a sponsor in Bears Banter, you could get promotions like that, or if you need announcements, let us know. You actually could email bearsbanter1@gmail.com. That's bearsbanter1@gmail.com to be a sponsor of Bears Banter Show. Plank, what you have?
A couple things. Thanks a lot, Dino, for your comments. You know,
You need to be on the show.
Yeah, I've been trying to get Dino. I'm gonna have to pressure him.
Absolutely, because he's a ball player. He knows exactly what's going on, and he has an opinion. And we respect and
that's
enjoy
correct.
I want to give you an example of who one of the poster boys is for not earning this contract. Eddie Jackson was thought to be a generational player.
Oops.
So paid him. This man is getting $15 million a year, and has how many interceptions has he had in the last 2 years? He is
about as many as I did.
Guys, Jay's on here with me. I actually got a holler, stealing money. Eddie Jackson, this is probably his last year playing the Bears for the Bears in that position, because these boys is coming up, Brisker and Gordon and those other DBs, they bring in the funk, and it's at a much cheaper price as well. So looking at what Eddie Jackson got paid for him being able to affect the game, and look at what his return on investment has been.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, you're right, man.
You know, that's one of the things in sports. When you get that money, hey, fans, we don't have no mercy on you. Hey, we'll be like sign you, right? We'll be thumping for sign you, but we gonna kick your butt when you ain't earning that money either.
Rightly so.
And you know what? It's another Jackson on our squad, and Eddie didn't even show up on the sheet. He didn't even show up on the sheet. That's a damn shame, man. But I think he's just one of them dudes that, he had a really good year, the year that he did. But and I'm not paraphrasing, I'm not trying to get in dudes' mind, but some guys get out there and they make the Pro Bowls like, oh yeah, I'm good and all that stuff, and they have a bad year. Now you got the lights on you, because my thing is, when you wear that Pro Bowl jersey, every time I watch you, you need to be where you need to be. You need to be the guy that make that play, and you need the guy that when the sheet come up, you on the sheet some way or another. He ain't even on ESPN nowhere. I didn't think they got his stats up.
Remember, guy, last year they heard they had an open mic in the practice, and Eddie Jackson was like, everybody can tackle. It ain't about tackling. It's about who can go get the ball. And then he followed that up with a season where he ended up with one interception, if I can even remember correctly. So by and large, he is not earning his contract for his own reason of why he's out there and he thinks he's an elite player.
Okay.
Well, he got a scratch off.
Everybody who's watching us tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV,
Hey.
and also hit the subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube or if you're watching us on Twitch TV. Tammy could not make it tonight, and Jay could not make it tonight. He's moving in his daughter into the Ohio State to finish her sophomore year, so we wish her luck in her sophomore year. My daughter Jess went to Xavier for her sophomore year. Wish her luck, and Plank daughter wish her luck going into what, her junior year?
Junior year, North Carolina A&T.
Aggie pride, right?
Now I feel old.
Hey, right.
I'm probably one of y'all feel old, man. Both my kids graduates and out the crib.
Right. So we got Eric sitting in tonight, because one of the things that I do love to do on this show is have different commentators come on from time to time. And I shared something with Eric offline the other day. Matter of fact, I haven't even shared this with you guys, that I shared part of it with it, but not the whole thing. I'm really looking into, this is season 3, season 4, moving us into where we have a press pass, and I want to create another person who will be, if they had a time, to be that press pass person who is at the practices, and that way we don't have to rely on these stories from other people. We gonna get it firsthand on Bears Banter, where our press pass person is there, and they're giving us updates. And maybe we run a show right in the middle of the day where they're there telling us how the quarterback look and how this look, and etc. So those are some of the growth I would like to see us make when we go into season 4. But hey, let's move to some of the final points and wrapping up this show today. You know, I know there's a whole lot of things about this season that people are kind of divided on. I know when you have change always brings about some dissension and fear, really, sometimes, right? That's why, like, a lot of times, even as old timers, we'll get say stuff like technology and etc. And you'll have people
our ways
afraid to just scare to try this, right? Because they set in their ways, right? And it may even be something better. Sometimes things are worse. But the things I was looking at when you look at the Bears' previous regime is they had developed a pattern of losing streaks. And, you know, they had 2 seasons in a row where the Bears actually started off with a pretty good record. And I believe both seasons they went into a 5-game losing streak in the middle of the season. I think it's 2 years ago, it was near the end of the season when they went into the losing streak. Last year, it was kind of like right in the middle of the season. But the reason I bring that up is, even though this is preseason, winning means something when you have a culture where people are developing losing streaks. When your veterans start getting used to losing, it becomes a mentality, right? And they have those moments when stuff go wrong. So even though it's preseason, that win, we say how it's preseason, I mean, it does mean something for players, right? And in reality, when you are a losing situation, I know me as an athlete, I don't even really, I was lucky. I never really lost much of my life for any sport, right? I mean, from the time I was just a shorty.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I can remember my senior year, that was the first time I kind of had adversity as an athlete. And it really was testing for me, because this was the first time where I'm looking at a loss and a loss after a loss. I mean, I had never experienced that and I was like a 3-sport person all my life. And even when I later on in my life, when I became a coach, the first team I ever coached, we actually won 3 games. And I drew from that personal experience. And the next year we won the championship. But it's a mentality, and you have to break that mentality with players, even though they're professionals. That's why we can laugh about bad teams. Bad teams tend to stay bad. They can change coaches and they still stay bad, because even the fan base started accepting they suck, right? And the players that they could get a good player, and then they come and then he suck, in that suck system, you know. But anyway, hey, anybody else got some things before we wrap up? We got about 10 or 11 minutes. Hey, go ahead, guys.
You know what I do, man. You know what? And mentality is 99% of it all. And I'm gonna tell you right now, when I played baseball, it was like I could look down both sides of the bench, and I knew it was the guy was probably as good, if not better than me when I started. You know, and when you start losing games, I used to take it personally. But I had a guy that was fortunate enough to tell me, it's like, you know what? You just learn for the L and keep on stepping. I'd be mad when I walk off the, walk out. By the time I take a shower and get dressed, I was good. You know what I'm saying? But the problem isn't that. The problem is when you come back to the dugout for another game, and guys sitting up here talking about, well, my girl, she live out here in North Dakota, after this game, I'm going whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Your concentration has to be 100% on it. If you want to be great, you have to walk out on any field. I don't care who's out there. Even if Jesus got 10 more people out there, in your mindset, you're going to lose. But by the same token, you have to feel like you have a chance. A lot of guys get complacent. And, the difference between the dogs and the guys collecting checks is the dogs are really mad. And then you see them go to a winning team, and they turn out to be the guy that you want. But then you get these guys on these squads right now, they collecting these paychecks, and then when it's all said and done, knees are bad, they retired, they sit back and they have this resentment of, I could have been a better player. But right now, what you have is the chance to control your destiny as a team. As I said, I like the fact that the team is buying in and guys are really doing their thing. There's going to be some guys who aren't as talented as others, but you know what? You can't teach hustle. You got to have it. And you got to have a memory, like a short memory. If you lose, you learn from it, but you keep stepping. That's all I got.
Yeah, who's the next game? Is it Seattle, the next game coming up?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, hey, Eric, what you want to see in that game? I believe the starters are probably going to play to halftime. Since they eliminated that fourth game, I think game 2 is what the starters play.
Yeah. 3? It's only 3? Okay.
It's only 3, right. Yeah. So the third game is where you play the players that's on the what they call it,
grocery bag and grocery list.
Yeah. What would you like to see in the second game against Seattle, where you're probably going to see the starting unit play? I would think into halftime.
A couple of things I would like to see. The first unit offense complete a drive all the way to the end zone. At least 2 drives where it's a touchdown and one drive is a field goal. I would like to see that. That's some growth. I love what Guy said, and I saw some of that today. One of the overarching things I saw from out there in the field was the hustle, was that guys were going hard, and the things that we're hearing about in training camp, it translated to the field. Even though we were down, 7-0 for a while, or anything like that, I didn't have that usual, I can go outside and start cleaning around the house feel, even preseason for the Bears right now. I feel like Dino just said, it's culture, and as a phrase, culture eats strategy for lunch. And right. That it's not going to matter. Okay. And I believe, especially with the fact you have all these guys who are out here who are, let's say, no names, and they're trying, and they read the press too. They read the fact that they say that we have the worst wide receiving core out there. Tajay Sharp's been on, I guess, 2-3 teams. And, and so he's out there making one-handed catches. He's trying to prove something. Okay. You have Isaiah Coulter out there doing his thing. So I want to continue to see these guys grow and play with that chip on their shoulders, in this next game, and bring that to game 1, where they get out there and they just show, hey, we know you all expect us to win 3 games and 2 games or 4 games and get a high draft pick, but they're not going to play like that. They playing like, look, we can beat anybody on any given Sunday. And so if they get that intensity going and they play with a game plan again against Seattle, they should beat Seattle. Seattle has Geno Smith out there. Come on. Mm-hmm. So so let's out there and get 2-0 preseason and build this and go into the regular season. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Okay. Hey,
real quick, what did you say? Culture eats what for lunch?
Culture eats strategy for lunch.
All right, write that down, man.
Like
that's prolific, man. That's facts, bro.
That's not me. That comes from that's a business management guy. It's an old phrase.
It don't matter. You brought it. I wrote it down.
Right. Yeah, I see Dino put winning is a culture.
It is.
Eric, do you know Dino?
Oh, that's my old school.
Okay, yeah, that's your old school.
Snapples.
Hey, Plank,
Yeah.
what you got closing remarks, Plank?
First of all, I want to put a hats off to the coaching staff today.
Yeah.
Flus did a good job managing the team as opposed to only paying attention to one facet of the team. As far as he won his first challenge, that's something we haven't seen a lot of over the last 4 years, and in the years prior to that with the John Fox era. Also, Luke Getsy seemed to have some kind of rhythm going. And to Eric's point, he put a point out there. The Bears only committed 5 penalties today,
but only 32 yards.
Great job. So I'm extremely excited for the direction the team is going in, and I'm going to give them a little bit more rope because you got to give them an opportunity to build their team the way that they see fit, and I think it's going to be really good for us. Last point, I know that everybody's excited or has some issues about the Bears being in Soldier Field. I'm gonna tell you, as a northern suburban guy, Arlington is nice, and it would be a good experience for Bears fans to come out here because we can build the infrastructure that's going to support it. So I'm looking forward to this year in the Bears, and bear down.
Hey, Plank, with the how the field looked today, that was not a good argument on why the Bears should stay in Soldier Field. I mean, the field looked horrible today. Hey, Guy, what do you have as far as what you looking for in the Seattle game or any closing?
What I'm looking for is hustle, man. I mean, the thing is I get tired of watching professional football players just kind of loaf on things. I mean, I've always, and I think all you guys, if you played sports or anything, back in the day, our coach was like, you ain't the most talented dude, but if you hustle, you're going to get a spot. That dude, that whether he in practice, whether he in the film room, whether he out here trying to beat a traffic light, he hustling. If that's part of you, the bag is going to come and the success is going to come. And if it doesn't come, somebody out there that is as successful, if not more successful than you, is going to see you. You have to wake up every morning with a purpose, man. Your purpose has to be, what is my purpose? What do I need to do to make myself a better me? And what can I contribute? If you can walk away at the end of the day and say that you did something great, or even as much as like if you watch offensive linemen, like their job is to block. The guy that does the submarine could be an all-pro guy, but he's laying down, knocking out 3 guys. Or even one thing I saw this tape on Ray Lewis, where Ray Lewis was talking about, I tie this guy up so my man can eat. That's culture. When you don't care about stats, all you care about is winning. I'm telling you, your top guy is like that. Everybody's like that. And them little bitty plays that you expect to try to see if you can get, you're going to get them. That's all I got.
Okay. Hey, what I like to see in that game against Seattle, I'm with Eric on that. I would like to see the first unit at a minimum score a touchdown, maybe 2.
Yeah.
And I would also like to see different combinations of the offensive line to because I saw some flaws today. You're gonna see it, right? Because we know this is not the long-term solution to the offensive line. I mean, some of that stuff it's not gonna be fixed until you get another draft. I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, I know fans at times we think you're just supposed to go all out and just you're gonna pay for all these free agents and all that. But most of the teams that win the Super Bowl are winning because they grew their players, and you put a player in here and there. So I guess the main thing I want to see is I want to see a touchdown or 2 by the first unit in that game before we go to halftime, and also I want to see a little bit more consistency on the defensive line. As far as just getting a little bit more push and really more so up the middle. I want to see that, and I want to see who's going to be that player on special teams that's going to stand out, because the Bears are going to have to find ways to be better than the teams they play in two phases of the game. What we had in the last 3 years was the Bears was better than their opponents in the defensive phase of the game. And in some games, maybe it was special teams added something, and those were the few victories you got. But you got to be
right there, and I'm gonna put you right back in, B. I want to ask you a question because you were a running back. What do you think? How do you think the plays went as far as the running plays, as far as the selection of plays and how they did them? How do you feel they did?
I thought as far as the selection of plays, I thought they had a good rhythm, even when they didn't get a first down. I thought the plays were decisive. I thought the guys ran well out of the backfield. They have a good core in their running game for sure. I really want to see. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. I really want to see Velas out there. I think he's going to be a sleeper, as far as not a sleeper when he started learning what he's supposed to do, but I think a sleeper as far as when he was in the draft. I think this guy is going to be a difference maker, and I believe he's going to be one of those players where you were like, "Oh my God, they got a gem there," and I think he's going to be one of those players. And from the stuff I've been hearing about Mooney, they've been saying Mooney he showed up sometime at midnight, ready to work out. I want to hear that about my star players. I want to hear my star players. Hey, he you know what? He's embracing. I'm gonna be the number one. Y'all saying we trash, like Eric said. Mooney is putting in that work to show maybe the fair weather fans or the Dalton Thomases. I'm gonna put in that work, man. But that is inspiring, man. When a player like that, matter of fact, I heard him talking the other day. He's like, "Hey, man, I studied." I studied Justin Fields too, and then he was like, "Hey, I'm actually about to sit in with the defense."
Yep,
man. Hey,
love it.
You hear that? You hear that, man? That fires you up, because guess what? I think it was Planker, one of them, was talking about when Lemonhead Stinson was on here, when he was saying you got to study the other teams. And for him to say, I want to study the defense, not just what I'm supposed to do. I'm looking at this guy, and when I get ready to do this, I notice he does this on receiver. So now I'm going to gain the advantage of him on him. But those are the things. Hey, but anything else y'all want to talk about before we close out? Because I know I'm going to try to keep this within an hour.
Oh,
I know Eric got a one that he needs to get to.
Daz Newsome, I was gonna give him a bad grade today because he did a really poor job on a fumble, on a punt return. But he came back in the second half, and actually he's gonna make it a little bit difficult to pick up that last receiver. So I wanted to put some kudos out there for that young man.
Okay. I got one more kudos for you, man. Trayvon Coley had 3 quarterback hits. 3. Enough said.
Okay.
And one last thing, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all. Hope I can do it again.
Good job.
Man, you're gonna be back on here, man. Hey,
you did the thing, man.
I'm gonna say one last thing. My daughter and her friends, they'll probably see a bunch of 12-year-old girls subscribing real quick. They want to make comments and try to clown me. So I just say hello to Camille Armstrong, so she can hear her name on YouTube. Okay.
Hey, thank you everybody who watched us tonight. Peace.